Hey guys, Three and Out has its own YouTube channel, and we plan on doing coward type numbers. Here's the key. If you're watching this, you like our content, make sure you subscribe. Subscribe to the page, leave a comment, interact with our stuff. We do stuff on this page on a daily basis. 365. Three and Out podcast right here on YouTube. Make sure you subscribe right now. Back at it again with maybe the hottest guy on the gambling trail. Nailed the Lions, nailed the Bears, and the Bills, which I pushed back on. Probably might have been the easiest game of the weekend. Absolute ass kicking of the Cowboys. You can find them Action Network. You can find them Big Bets on Campus. You can just find them winning bets because that's what Stuckey does. Stuckey, what's up, bro?
What's going on, brother? Yeah, it was a good weekend, but the problem is the way that the results broke, it led to me having to bet on Easton Stick, which we'll get to. So,
I think one thing that's come to fruition, and you had been saying this for a while, the Eagles were on this slippery slope. I mean, they escaped so many games, then they played two good teams, and they got their ass kicked. And while statistically, I mean, I guess they had the advantage in that Seattle game, the majority of it, they definitely just look off. And their defense, like, to me, I don't view them currently as a Super Bowl contender the way they're playing.
No, there's a lot of things wrong with the Eagles right now. I mean, just look. Yeah, I mean, Seattle got kind of lucky late, but it was, they were playing Drew Lock, and they had some other guys out, and it kind of just summed up the Eagles season. The offense couldn't put it all together, and then their secondary got absolutely cooked, James Bradbury in particular. And their secondary right now is a bottom 10 group.
It's
if
bad.
They're not getting pressure. They can't stop anyone. I think Bradbury and Slay, they've really dropped off. They're both over 30. Try to play a lot of man, just have lost a step. It's like a back. And then their defensive started to play them differently, throwing more zone out there. And Hurts just, he also hasn't been 100% healthy. But I think they also look at what the Shane Steichen's doing with the Colts. I think Jonathan Gannon was a really underrated defensive coordinator. So I think they missed both coordinators as well. And, whenever you think that you're a Super Bowl contender, and it's week 15 and you're having your quarterback fall down in practice because he's fumbling it too much, you're making your Matt Patricia the defensive coordinator. Those are all huge red flags. So, yeah, it's the NFC now. It's now, look, it's a one football game played with an oblong ball with injuries.
We've seen in the NCAA tournament our entire life. Weird shit in a one-game situation can happen.
Yeah, anything can happen.
The Niners almost lost to the Cowboys last year. The Cowboys gave them everything they could handle.
Yep. And who knows? You saw what happened with the 49ers in Philly last year. Christian McCaffrey's playing quarterbacks. You never know what can happen in one game. But as of right now, I think with the 49ers, it doesn't look like they're going to have to go to Dallas, where Dallas is just a different team this year. They are clearly the favorite in the NFC. They won't have to go to, even Detroit at home is a different team. So the Niners, it looks like they're going to get the 1 seed, having home field throughout with that valuable bye. I know it's not locked up yet, but they should get it with tiebreakers, even if they lose to the Ravens. They're clearly the favorite. I think if I was a 49ers fan, I want to lock up the 1 seed, number one, which should happen. And then number two, I just want to stay as healthy as possible for once. That would be my main objective, because Dallas, just not the same team in the world, can get bullied, and this Philly team has too many holes right now.
Yeah, to me, this Ravens game this week, which is, probably a top 5 or 6 game of the year on paper coming into the week, you would say they win that, they get the Commanders the following week, which it would be a little bit of a letdown spot, I think. But they're so much better than them. Commanders might be doing 1, 2, 3 Cancun, paddle boat Ron's done. They could have it locked up by the Rams game, and it'd be interesting. Like, to me, Trent wouldn't play. Bosa probably wouldn't play, and he would probably yank a lot of those guys out early. So they would be, it's crazy because that 3-game losing streak, the Eagles hadn't lost yet. It was like, God, you're just going to be probably like a 2 or a 3 seed. And the way it's all played out, it's all kind of come back to earth. I think the underrated part about Philly right now is that, the defensive coordinator, I watched the Sirianni press conference. He's just getting peppered, and rightfully so. It's a big story. But Patricia was fine. I mean, beside the one drive, you score 17 points against fucking Seattle. I mean,
Yep.
that's Goddard was healthy. The two receivers are healthy. Swift's flying around. Your quarterback. I know you're missing a guard, but Jesus, like that to me, that's the problem. Their offense is just too average right now for how much talent they have.
Yep. Yeah, no, the league is adjusted to what Philly was doing last year with that Hurts read option. Their running game has taken a step back. They've changed like how they're running the ball. Their playbook isn't as complex. The play calling isn't as good. So yeah, it's both sides of the ball. And they were getting
you can't throw a wide receiver screen with the 165-pound being guy lead blocking. I mean, I like Devontae Smith a lot. That's just like, what are you doing? I mean, that's a terrible play. My mom could be like, yeah, it's probably not going to work.
Yeah, the Eagles, the only thing they have working in their favor, and we'll see what they do, is that they have the Giants twice, they have the Cardinals, they have a chance to just get healthier, and then now they're kind of under the radar. Can they take a month to figure some things out? So we'll see. And they get the rest up. It's been a brutal stretch for them, but yeah, I see too many holes for me to consider them a legit, real Super Bowl threat as of this moment, which certainly could change. And yeah, that it's interesting with the 49ers. If they have everything locked up, the Rams, that could really help the Rams get in the playoffs for Week 18. So that's certainly something to watch. So we'll see how all that plays out. So many teams. Should be a crazy finish in the NFL from a playoff perspective.
Not counting the Eagles or Cowboys as the 5 seed because they would be a heavy favorite in that first round game. But if you look at the other, it'd be, I guess, 5 wild card teams. Wouldn't you say that, I guess if the Bills or Dolphins were a wild card team, that they would be viewed as pretty damn good too and potentially favored in that first round? But to me, the Browns and the Rams are just two teams that wild card weekend. I think are going to take some money. I mean, obviously the way the Browns play defense, though, it's not. It's good on the road. They're just a tough out. And obviously the Rams, have a head coach who knows what the fuck he's doing and a quarterback who can go toe to toe. I've already kind of can envision this coming. Can you see Stafford going into Detroit in the 3-6 game and beating them? That would suck. I'd feel bad for Lions fans.
That would be must-see TV. I didn't even think of that. That's kind of what I'm rooting for. Yeah, the Rams will be especially in a game against, a bad Detroit defense, which that game would probably just turn into like a shootout. Who has the ball last? Yeah, they'll certainly, I would rather have them in it than another NFC South team.
Please.
So yeah, the Vikings they just don't have a quarterback. So yeah, I'm rooting for the entertainment perspective. The Rams get in, and yeah, the Browns with that defense, Joe Flacco, very experienced in the playoffs. Yeah, I think that those two teams would be like, we don't need the Steelers in, and there's certain teams that I just don't really want to see in. So yeah, I think those two teams would certainly be interesting underdogs in the first round.
It's football season, and you can now get almost anything you need for game day delivery with Uber Eats. What do we mean by almost? Can Uber Eats deliver foam fingers? No. But chicken fingers? Yes. Touchdown dances? No. Buttermilk ranches? Yes. Field goals? No. Grilling coals? Yes. Running backs? No. Ribs? Yes. Blitzes? No. Beers? Yes. Defense? No. Deodorant? Yes. Game-clinching turnovers? No. But pastry turnovers? The kind with delicious apple filling? Oh yeah, because that's groceries. And get those delivered with Uber Eats too, along with food from your favorite restaurants and other essentials. And the best part, you can get it all without missing a second of action on your TV. There you have it. Get almost anything for game day delivered with Uber Eats, official on-demand food delivery partner of the NFL. Order now. Alcohol in select markets. Product availability may vary by region. See app for details. Okay, let's dive into the weekend slate. We're recording this on Wednesday, so we got Thursday night, Saints at the Rams. I hope the Saints lose. I'm cool with Tampa getting in. Then we got a couple games Saturday. I guess let's start there. Saturday night. Brandon Staley is no longer in our lives, but the Chargers are an 11.5-point underdog. They have a backup quarterback who clearly, looked a little overwhelmed. They've had a longer rest. The Bills are coming off 2 pretty emotional games. The cross country flight, though it's easier to me to fly west in terms of your body clock. Uh, Chargers plus 11.5. Tell me why you like Dean Spanos' team.
Yeah, this is, I mean, historically, you get a little bit of a bump when you have an interim coach the next week, and teams have overperformed a bit. Part of that is, and I think you always want to look at these in a one-off scenario, but I think it's even more so a positive when it appears that the team has quit on the coach. And that was the case last week.
Yeah.
You know, they give up 60 plus points to Aiden O'Connell and the Raiders. And I'm sitting there and I'm saying, man, if they fire Staley and the Bills win, I'm going to have to bet them next week, because it looks like they quit. They're still professionals. They're playing for their job. So there's a really good chance that just like the locker room rallies, you have a chance to ruin the Bills season. It's the NFL. Teams are never as bad as they look or never as good as they look. You also can change some things up, right? You get a new coach in there. Staley's like a really stubborn guy. So you have the other coaches come to you, the players, and say, hey, let's do this. Let's do that. Maybe it works, maybe it doesn't. But what it does lead to is a little element of surprise that the other team doesn't have on film, and you can throw some different things out there. And as you mentioned, at this spot just has everything. You have a little interim coach bump. You are on an extended rest, which means more late in the season. Bills on a short week after three big games, actually. I mean, they played Philly, the Chiefs, and the Cowboys. And now you go across country on a short week. And, this Bills team, I've just been in flow with them all year, was betting them early in the year, faded them for 6 straight weeks, jumped back on after everyone jumped off. Now everyone's jumping back on. And I think it's probably the wrong time to buy their stock. It's just a brutal situational spot. I'm not going to sit here and wax poetic about this Chargers team, but I do think you get their best effort. It's a double-digit home underdog in the NFL, which over the past 20 years are 73, 53, and 1 against the spread. But here's some other, just to kind of contextualize, buying low on these teams that no one wants to bet after they look so bad. And while it's usually not the case, they're not as bad as they look. Teams that lost by 35 or more points the previous week have gone 75, 44, and 6 against the spread over the past 20 years. That's 63%, covering by 2.5 points per game. When underdogs in that situation, 58, 29, and 5, that's 67%. 17 and 3 against the spread, 85%, when getting more than 10 points after losing by 35 plus, covering by almost 10 points per game on average, including 16 and 1 after the month of September. And then teams who have allowed 50 plus points the previous game in a loss, 65% against the spread over the past 20 years. Saw that earlier this season with the Broncos after they gave up 70, went on the road and covered in Chicago. So yeah, I like this Bills team. I have a future on them to win the Super Bowl. I hope they make the playoffs. I just think this is the spot to fade them. I wouldn't be surprised if just like this gets NFL weird given the situation, assuming that the Chargers, show up here and this is like a close game that no one expects in the fourth quarter.
Following you on the old X app, is it safe to say that and I know talking to you, obviously I think everyone agrees Shane Steichen's a really good coach, but you don't think Indy's very good?
Yep.
And I don't know where you stand. Like, I completely agree with Tom Brady. And the moment Casey knocked him out, like, these quarterbacks just throw up fucking balls out of their ass, and then the guy gets in trouble. It's like that throw was. It's one thing if you hit the guy in stride. Ball. Yeah, I mean he threw the guy in. Casey was trying to take him out just at his hip, and the guy had to dive. It's like, what the fuck, does the quarterback not bear any responsibility?
Yeah, ridiculous. Like, I get if you want to throw the flag because it's live and it looked bad and they're trying to. So I assumed the flag was coming. I remember when they first started doing this, I would throw up my hands. I played, defense my whole life. Now I just already assume the flag's coming, but to eject him and then suspend him for the season?
Suspended for the season, no pay.
Ridiculous. I mean, what's he supposed to do? The only other option there is just to let him get the first down. So I don't know. I agree with you. It was ridiculous. Shane Steichen's done a tremendous job. The Eagles really miss him. But, I mean, look, this team since October 1st, they have 5 losses to the Rams, Jags, Browns with PJ Walker, Saints, and Bengals with Browning. So, all teams that are in the playoff mix with a couple of backups in there. There's 6 wins. The Titans twice, the Panthers, the Patriots in London, the Bucks, and the Steelers. In those games, 13-5 turnover margin against 3 quarterbacks in those 6 games who have now been benched. They were outplayed and outgained in 4 of those 6. They're 5-2 in 1 possession games. They have the second most takeaways in the league. Gardner Minshew has been extremely fortunate. I mean, he's 14 touchdowns, 8 interceptions, I believe. Per PFF, he has about 10 big-time throws. I think 22 turnover-worthy plays. He's has some turnovers coming his way. And the Falcons are on the other end of the spectrum. I'm not a fan of this team, but they've played better at home. Last week they lost to the Panthers. It was in a just an unplayable game.
What would I, if you knew you had to miss the entire slate of games, what would I have to pay you? Someone asked me to attend that game in the rainstorm. Those 2 teams. I have to fly you there. It's like you're not there, so you got to get there. You got to go to the game. How much money would you need?
Yeah, it's funny. Last week I tweeted this out. You would have to pay me thousands of dollars. So someone said how much. So you can stream Red Zone now in the NFL stadiums. You used to not, or at least on YouTube TV, you used to not be able to do that. So I could keep an eye on.
But the other thing is you got to be out. You're not in the suite or anything. You're outside.
Yeah, you got to sit out on. It's an NFL Sunday. There's other games going on. I value my Sundays.
This is your job, I mean.
Yeah, I would say I would take, if you gave me like 2,500, I would sit in there.
Damn, I said 25K.
25K?
25, because I got to fly there. I got to miss. I mean, I do podcasts after the afternoon
you're right.
games.
Yeah.
I mean, this is
the life interruption too. Yeah, I'll say 10 grand. If you give me 10 grand, I didn't even consider the life interruption. Although it's not as bad as for me. I'm kind of closer.
Yeah, it's a long flight now, and I also said brown bag, right? So I'm this isn't like a 1099 check, right? This is like I'm buying a recruit at Mississippi State.
Yeah, I'll say that's a good point. I just figured like if I'm in the stadium at a bar and then you told me to go in there, the life interruption.
Yeah, it was that game. I somehow watched some of that game. It was fucking. That's as bad as it gets. It does not get any worse. I think.
Yeah, that's how I feel about. I'll put out my price if anyone wants to do it this weekend. My price for. Now this weekend it's like Christmas, so my price will probably be. Well, I'm going to be in Philly for Christmas, so I'll take 20K. If someone wants to pay me you have to get the ticket too. If someone wants to pay me to go watch Jets Commanders on Sunday, 20K. So you got to give me 20K cash and a ticket, and I'll go up there on Christmas Eve.
Where's that game? MetLife?
Yeah, in MetLife. I'll be like an hour and a half from there. So
cold, wet, just gross,
meaningless. I think it might be like Simeon. I don't even know. Washington might change quarterbacks. Yeah, that's how I feel about this week about that game. But yeah, that game was awful last week. But the Falcons were missing their 2 best offensive linemen in that game. They were missing their best defensive tackle. They had a ton of injuries in that game, and it was just unplayable conditions. The Colts they beat nobody. They've been really fortunate. By the way, Michael Pittman, concussion. Taylor and Moss still questionable, as is Braden Smith. Their defense just isn't very good. Their D-line is good. Kenny Moore is an elite slot. But other than that, their secondary in particular is really poor. So I like the move to Taylor Heineke here, who can actually throw it downfield and, won't just, here's the game like Ritter does every week. And Ritter's been so bad, yet, the Falcons, they're 2-5 over their past 7 games. 1-5 in games decided by 5 or less. Their losses were by 5, 3 on a last-second touchdown, 2 on a last-second field goal, 4 on a last-second touchdown, and 2 on a last-second field goal. I mean, this team, 5 losses over the past 2 months by a combined 16 points, 4 in the final seconds. And a lot of that's because Ritter just decides to give games away. So I think this is a good spot to buy the Falcons. Everyone's written them off. I'm not an Arthur Smith guy. I think he might end up being fired, even though he kind of got a vote of confidence, but I just think this Colts team. I love Steichen, but they're just not very good. And if you don't have Pittman, your backs, you might be without your right tackle. And I think the Falcons should get all their linemen back this week. They were really close to playing last week. They've looked a lot better at home. I like the Falcons here.
To me, if he gets fired, they'd have a team like someone on that team that has a lot of talent would be available this offseason. Trying to reset one of those offensive skill guys. It'd probably be Pitts, I would guess.
Yeah,
But you never know. And that team would be fascinating for the good GMs to kind of circle them because some
I
new
agree.
GM and a new head coach would probably try to blow it up. To me, that pick he threw scrambling to the left is just listen, I've kind of always
True
liked
freshman
Arthur Smith.
college. That's that kind of throw.
He obviously was a really good coordinator for Vrabel, but like I can't believe for the life of me that like he had nothing to do with you're going into the season and Ritter is the guy that you're cool with. Like that was insane. Not even trying to get anyone else. It's just that was crazy to me.
And everyone knew. It's like even the most casual fans were like, "What are you doing here?" So, I was like, "All right, I'm really curious to watch Ritter early. Maybe they,
Know something we don't.
yeah, and saw something, and there's going to be this big second year leap." And no, it was everything that everyone pretty much anticipated. But I will say the Falcons, they've been super, super unlucky in these close games. And I mean, they've had a lot of games where they've outgained teams by 200 yards. Part of that is on the coaching, and they've lost, and they continue to lose. I mean, the Bucs game the other week, they miss a wide open touchdown. Baker goes down the field, scores in the final 30 seconds. Then they somehow get it down to the 2, and the game ends. And their kicker. I mean, so many things have gone wrong for the Falcons this year, and everything's gone right for the Colts. And they really haven't beat anybody. I mean, that's the thing is that if you look back over the past 2 months, it's been anyone with a pulse, they've pretty much lost to. I mean, even the Patriots could have beat them in London. The Panthers game, they get 2 pick sixes. The Titans, they win in overtime because the Titans punter gets hurt pretty much. So you got the Steelers last week with 3 turnovers and just a horribly messy game. So I think this is the perfect time to sell the Colts.
Before we get in the night game, do you think in one of these 2 games, we talk about it a lot, divisional games get weird, especially good team versus bad team. Is there any chance the Giants win one of these 2 games?
Yeah, I think they're more likely to do it at home. And that'll be their Super Bowl because you'll get no matter what this week, and you'll get the Eagles best.
They have no choice, right?
Yeah, so you'll get their best effort just from we've lost multiple games in a row. We're at home now on Christmas. The crowd will be great, and then they can win that game with the crowd and their D line, like just the noise and then the pressure that they'll get. So DeVito will get. Yeah. He's going to get sacked 8 times probably in this game. So yeah, but the way that the Eagles play, Giants-Eagles games have gotten, the Eagles have played very well against this Giants team.
They've dominated them.
But so I would be shocked if the Giants won this one. But if they come out flat, just think the way that things have been going, it could get a little weird. But I would say that the game in New York has a better chance of being an upset that could cost the Eagles the division.
Okay, night game. Ravens 5.5. Obviously, the Niners look fucking dominant, even when they're kind of going through the motions at moments, which they have the last couple weeks. The Ravens look solid, but that running back injury is pretty devastating. A lot of MVP buzz coming into this game. I mean, Lamar throws 3 or 4 touchdowns and the Ravens win. I mean, you can fucking throw his hat right in the ring. To me, the Niners win by 10 plus. Purdy's throwing 3 or 4 touchdowns. You could argue it'd just be a wrap, like you said. I mean, the quarterback usually comes from the top seed quarterback. It's usually how it works. Thoughts on this game? Being a Ravens guy, I'm a Niner guy. Let's fucking talk it out.
Yeah, I would say if Purdy wins, if the Niners just win this game, Purdy wins the MVP.
McCaffrey, no shot.
No, voters just won't. It's just a quarterback award now. Unless if McCaffrey set I mean, it's ridiculous what McCaffrey's doing too, if you look from a rushing and receiving perspective. But I think the only way a running back can win it is like they have to, in today's day and age, number one, you have to be on the team that gets the bye. You'd have to set like the NFL single season rushing record, and then maybe the touchdown record on top. It's just such a quarterback award now, that I think that if Purdy wins this weekend, he wins it. And I think if he loses, he still has a really good chance of winning it. But if they win this game, the only, like, Lamar could get back in there because Allen had a shot if like they ran the table and he put up huge numbers, but like they just ran the ball 50 times last week, so that didn't help his case. Eliminated Dak. The Dolphins guys are done. So Lamar would have to throw up like 4 touchdowns here, and then he gets the Dolphins for the 1 seed next week and then go nuts again. So like all these things have to happen for, I think, Purdy not to win it. But yeah, I like the Ravens plus 5.5 here. The injury to Mitchell does hurt, but I'm curious to see what because the Ravens number 1 rushing offense in the NFL, if you adjust, 49ers are right up there as well, but the Ravens run D has been better, and of late, especially because of these injuries that the 49ers are dealing with. So it's Wednesday, it's early, we don't know the injury report, but will Armstead and Hargrave play? I don't know, because last week they gave up 8 yards per carry to the Cardinals, which would be, and then you have Lamar Jackson, which would be a major path to success for the Ravens. Lenore, rib injury. He's such a big piece to this 49ers defense. Early in the season, this 49ers D, the pass D in particular, had major, major issues. And one of the main culprits was Isaiah Oliver.
Yeah.
And you were able to get him out of the lineup. They made a really smart change, and they got Lenore in there, and he's been playing out of his mind. If he can't play, then you're going back to, you might go to Oliver, you might go to somebody else. And then your secondary, I think, is back to that unit that had some holes early in the season. So, yeah, I think that there's a couple things in play here. I think that this is going to be a fantastic game. And I think that the 49ers are probably at the peak of their market. They're laying 5.5 against the 1 seed in the AFC at home. But it's John Harbaugh as an underdog. As a Ravens fan and as a bettor, it's something that I almost always bet. They're just such a well-coached team. They're always so well. It doesn't even matter.
They fired his brother.
Yeah, fired his brother. This team will always be just so buttoned up for situations like this. It doesn't matter who the quarterback is. I remember last year betting them +7 when they went into Cincy with Huntley in the game. They should have won. Should have beat Joe Burrow in the Bengals in the game, but they fumbled at the end. Yeah. But they still covered. For what it's worth, Harbaugh 19-4 against the spread as an underdog since 2018. Lamar Jackson, who's 19-1 straight up against the NFC. You'll see that stat a ton. Part of that is they're just much better than a lot of NFC teams. They're not playing the 49ers every week, but there's also just an adjustment when they play, when you see Lamar's speed at first. So that works in the Ravens' favor just early on in the game, and you got to adjust to the angles when you're not used to seeing him. But Lamar Jackson as an underdog or favorite of less than a field goal is 15-1 against the spread. But this team, look at the better defense, also big kicker edge here, the better special teams, and these injuries that San Fran is dealing with on the defensive end could end up making it a bit easier for the Ravens. Now, I do think that the Ravens defense is not going to shut down. The Ravens defense has been, dominant all year. They faced a lot of beneficial situations, backup quarterbacks, injuries on offensive lines, weather. This 49ers offense is just playing at a different level. I will say that they have one of the best defensive coordinators in the NFL. He changes up the looks every week. Maybe he can confuse Purdy into a mistake or two. But I just think ultimately this game should be I make it 3.5. It's 49ers minus 3.5. And I'll ride with Harbaugh as an underdog, catching 5.5 pretty much with anyone, anywhere, any place, anytime. So yeah, I just think this is too many points. I think it'll be a great game. I think the most likely result is 49ers by 3.
Mobile quarterbacks give most teams trouble, but that is, I would say, over the year, somewhat of a kryptonite because the Niners, once they get a lead, can overwhelm a guy who can't really move.
Yeah.
And Kyler has given the Niners fits, over the years. It's just hard when you get a guy that's that athletic, and you can't just your scheme is not guaranteed even when you get it right to do anything right because he can play outside. The other thing is obviously the Ravens have really good D tackles, right? So you're not just, and then it's not like the Niners are rolling out Jason Kelsey and Larry Allen. So I would imagine running it up the middle with Roquan is going to be difficult. And then Kyle doesn't mind; he'll go to the edges. But if you just sell out on that, if you can take away the only way to beat the 49ers, you have to stifle the run because
Yep.
that fucks up their whole thing. Kyle's wants to run it and he'll stick with it, unlike 99.9% of coaches in the modern day era. But like I would imagine they'll treat Christian McCaffrey like Belichick treated Marshall Faulk in the Super Bowl or whatever. Just take him out, and that'll just kind of unravel him. And just, hey, Purdy, let's be the MVP.
Yep.
And that's where most of the teams the Niners have played this year, beside the Browns that one game, just couldn't match their physicality. And just the Ravens and the Jags, it was like it was a heavyweight fighter against a lightweight, because the Ravens like playing that physical style. And I don't know. I think it's going to be. I hope the Ravens come to. I know they'll come to play, but just play well because I would love to see the Niners in a tight game. Like it's kind of boring sometimes, and crazy to say, watching them just like cruise to wins. Because if you're going to feel good, like they're the Super Bowl favorite for a reason, but like one of these playoff games is going to be tied going in the fourth quarter. Hell, maybe even down. Like, are they comfortable in that spot? Is the quarterback comfortable in that spot against a really good team? And this is the Niners don't see their equal often because teams just don't hit like them. Well, the Browns did, and the Ravens do. The Cowboys, in theory, should, but like as you saw on Sunday, they don't all the time. The Eagles definitely are not physical enough, right, on defense. And I think it's going to be, and like you said, coaching wise, it's Mike McDonald, right, as the defensive coordinator.
Yeah.
The dude the Harbaugh brothers have shared, like obviously that guy's big time, and Todd
Yeah. No.
Monken has been good this year. I mean, fuck, it's gone well.
Yeah. No. McDonald's great. I think this is the as of right now. You always have to give a lot of respect to Mahomes
And Andy, yeah.
and but they're just they just look a little off right now. But once they're
what can you get this matchup Super Bowl odds? Have you looked?
That's a
10
good
to
question.
1,
Let me look.
15 to 1.
And then I would say that the one seed is also really important in the AFC. And I'll pull it up right now. But
The Ravens have the Dolphins the following week, right?
Correct. Even if they lose this game,
not the end of the world because that's in Baltimore.
Correct. Then they pretty much are playing. Let's see, exact result. Let's do name the finalists. Ravens 49ers is 5-1. That's the favorite. The next is Chiefs 49ers, 7-1.
Ravens Bills might be a little tasty. Or I mean Niners Bills.
Niners Bills. That's what I was going to say. The other team that as a Ravens fan, I'm petrified of is the Bills. Bills Niners 13-1. I don't mind that as a little flyer.
Do you think the Bills are winning the division?
It comes. Wait, so they're one game. No, they're two.
They need to win the next two, and it's the Chargers and the Patriots, and the Dolphins have the Cowboys and the Ravens the next two. So if they lose one of those games, Sunday, Week 18 is for the division.
Yeah, I do. So I think the Bills match up really well with them, and I think the Bills are going to beat them Week 18. So yeah, and I don't think that the Dolphins are sweeping Dallas and Baltimore.
That'd be one of the wildest 11-6 seasons we've seen since the 17 game thing started. The Bills just went 11-6. At one point in time, they felt like they were going to go 6-11.
Yeah. But yeah, if they don't, then I feel bad for the 2 or 3 seed that has to play them in the first.
Honestly, the Browns and Bills would just be teams like, fuck, that's a tough first rounder. You look across, like someone gets Seattle in the first round. It's a little bit different.
You're praying and hoping that no disrespect to Jake Browning, but like the Bengals, the Steelers, the Colts, one of those teams can.
And now Jamar's out. I mean,
Yeah,
to me, the Bengals.
and their defense is
Honestly, like I'm on the
DJ
camp
Reader's
that
out for the year. He's like their best defensive player.
I think Tomlin, like it's kind of time. I don't know how he could possibly. He loses with all the guys they're missing now. You can't beat him. And Jake Brown just runs circles around Trubisky, which he's clearly a better player. Like, what are we doing? I mean, what are we doing?
Yeah, I think it's the end for Tomlin. Although I will say one bonus bet for Saturday. I did bet the Steelers. One last Tomlin hurrah spot. A lot of it has to do with the Bengals injuries. No Chase, and then DJ Reader in the middle. That's just it's a massive loss.
Sucks.
The Steelers should be able to just run the ball here, and Browning, the expiration date is going to be up soon. So I did bet the Steelers reluctantly, but on Saturday.
I forget who was calling that game, but when he got hurt, whoever the analyst was like, Lou told us in the meetings he thought this guy was the best guy at doing his job in the NFL at stopping the run. Yep. Like, and clearly he was. I mean, that's you lose those guys. Yeah, that's fucking. They play a massive role because it's easier for your linebackers to just eat up tackles. Look at the Ravens. Yep. You saw the Niners, like they have elite linebackers, yet you put me and you in there at D tackle. Like, I'm sorry, Kinlaw's getting driven back 7 yards either way. It's like it's easy to just get body in front of Fred Warner or Drake Greenlaw, and you slice and dice them.
Yeah, not only can you stop the run, but then when you're rushing the passer, everything is easier.
Yeah, for
coverage
sure.
is easier. So but you didn't. So I'll say, you didn't give me your prediction. I'll say 49ers win by 3.
Yeah, I'm with you. I think this thing gets weird. I think this is since the Browns, the first team that when the Niners, I think the Niners are gonna fucking come into this like they did the Eagle game or the Cowboy game, but I think this team can match their physicality, and I fully expect it to be a close game headed in the fourth quarter. Yeah, and I like the Niners. I mean, at home, but by no means like I wouldn't bet my life savings on it. Like I think you're taking the right tactic. I definitely would not take them minus 5, 6, 5.5, whatever the number ends up at. Would not feel comfortable. And the one question with Brock, who I think, listen, the argument, he's fucking good. Yes. He's good. Is he a $500 million quarterback? We don't have to do that yet. Is he as good as Mahomes or Allen? No. Is he damn good? Yes. But like he has to prove, because he just hasn't been in the situation when he hasn't got it done because they blow out everybody. What happens when he's down 3 with 5 minutes left and they're, the Ravens take the lead 24-21, the Niners get, can he drive him right down against a real, a big time team? He did it against the Browns and Moody missed the kick. Yeah. And listen, I don't think he's not capable of it, but like part of it is you just have to do it.
Part of that just getting experience.
It's no different than Lamar. Like Lamar has a lot to prove in January, right? He's never played well. Like, should the Ravens win the AFC? Yeah, probably. But like, would you bet your life savings on it? How could you? It's not like you're betting on fucking Elway or Brady here. Now he could be able to do it, no problem. He's clearly way better than he's ever been. It's like you watch him, you go, this is a high level elite player. But like, there comes a pressure. I used to be a huge Peyton Manning fan, like when in the early 2000s, and he was fucking awesome. And then you get there and you're like, God, why does Peyton look so tight? So, and I don't expect Lamar to look tight, but it's part of, it's what makes great players legends. You got to do it in the games when 40 million people are watching and it's win or go home. So I think this is a great precursor for both these guys. It's just whoever wins this. And like, even honestly, if the Niners were to lose a close game or the Ravens lose a close game, I think it's going to be one of those you hold your head high. Now, if the Ravens were to lose by a lot, let's say double digits, I think everyone would just say no one can beat this team. Yeah. Which I think most people kind of lean now, but I think that could easily change if the Ravens go toe-to-toe with them and definitely beat them. You go, okay, they are beatable.
I think if the Ravens win this game, then I don't think the narrative will change around the 49ers
They're the heavy favorite in the NFC.
In the NFC, that won't change. People will take the Ravens a little more serious, but it'll be the conversation that'll be tabled until the Super Bowl, if the 49ers make it, that you'll hear about for 2 weeks is the AFC over NFC. So the AFC has been really good against the NFC this year. You saw the Bills against the Cowboys last week. Yeah. And then if the Ravens go into San Fran, that's the narrative that I think will switch. But yeah, if the 49ers win this game comfortably, then
I mean,
it's
what are we talking if they're in the Super Bowl? A 7-point favorite minimum?
yeah. Yeah, it could some odds makers have
When's the
them.
last time a line's been that big in the Super Bowl? It's been a while.
Yeah, I think back to like I know like the Patriots teams way 10, 15 years ago.
I
Maybe
think that I remember betting the Broncos against Cam Newton. They were like 4, I think, and that was
or
pretty
the
big.
Falcons were 4+4.5 against the Patriots. But yeah, it's maybe
Doesn't
the
happen
Eagles
often.
against the Patriots with Foles. Maybe they were I don't know, maybe 6-7. I don't know. I got to go back and look. But yeah, some odds makers right now have because I have the Niners 1, the Ravens 2 in my power ratings, but some odds makers I don't have it quite this high have the Niners 5 points better than 5.5 points better than everyone else on a neutral field, which is crazy in the NFL to have one team that far. That's like a college
Yeah.
thing. So yeah, and if they win this game, then that's only going to get bumped more if they win this comfortably and cover.
If they cover for sure. So, well, Stuckey, have a good Christmas break. Enjoy everybody in Philly. Have a few cocktails and enjoy the games.
Yeah, I'll be sure to fire off a few
Oh yeah, go
tweets
Niners,
to you
baby.
during the Ravens-Niners game. Hopefully it's a good one. Hopefully the refs stay out of it. We don't get
I know.
anyone suspended or for the year
Let them
or thrown
hit. Let them
out.
play.
Yeah, let that game play because I can't wait for it. Should be a good one. But yeah, good luck, Merry Christmas, and I'll see you next week.